Imagine spending $250,000 on marketing, right? You acquire 300 new enterprise customers, and then you turn around and literally fire the exact team that made it happen.
All because your executive dashboard is, well, lying to you.
Exactly. Or, imagine pouring your entire Q3 budget into this massive SEO strategy, right? As Google decides that over 65% of mobile searches will just never result in a click again.
Yeah, that is the brutal reality of the digital ecosystem right now in 2026.
Mhm.
Because the internet used to be this highly predictable linear machine.
Right. You put attention in and you extract revenue out.
Exactly. But today, I mean, AI is eating the attention, algorithms are totally exhausted,
No.
and the fundamental unit economics of acquiring a customer are just completely fractured.
And navigating that fracture is exactly our mission for you today. Welcome to the deep dive. We have a seriously massive stack of source material to synthesize for you.
We really do. We're looking at everything from viral tech, influencer playbooks, and advanced digital marketing frameworks.
To the MGID Publisher Survival Guide, and even some hardcore B2B customer acquisition math from veteran startup founders.
Right. We are decoding how you actually build, scale, and, monetize an audience when all the old rules have basically been thrown out the window.
Okay, let's unpack this, and I think we should start right at the ground floor with the solo creator.
I agree. So we're looking at this highly specific 30-day tech influencer content plan.
Yeah, and what stands out immediately to me isn't just the sheer volume of output, which is intense, but the psychological pacing of it.
Right. It is engineered down to the exact topic, the format, the platform, everything.
Yeah, if you look at the schedule, day one is just a basic introduction. But then by day two, they drop this super heavy technical tutorial, right? Like 3 Python tricks beginners always miss.
Yeah, diving right into the deep end.
Exactly. But then on day 13, the tone wildly pivots. It goes to a relatable meme about, spending 3 hours debugging a single misplaced semicolon.
Which is incredibly relatable for anyone who codes, by the way.
Oh, 100%. And then by day 21, boom, back to a dense tutorial on a new AI coding tool.
And this whole apparatus is built on aggressive cross-posting, right? Across YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, Telegram.
Yeah, with a relentless focus on the first 2 seconds of the hook. Like, if you don't catch them in 2 seconds, they're gone.
Right. What's fascinating here is the mechanism behind this cadence. Like, why intersperse highly technical Python tutorials with self-deprecating memes?
Well, it comes down to managing the cognitive load of the audience, right? I mean, I kind of think about it like building audience muscle.
Oh, like a workout routine.
Exactly. If you go to the gym and you strictly do high-intensity interval training every single day, what happens? Your central nervous system just fries.
You burn out entirely.
Right, you burn out.
Mm.
So this 30-day plan mixes those high-intensity reps, the dense, heavy coding frameworks, with what is essentially parasocial active recovery.
That's a great way to put it. The memes aren't just filler content.
No, not at all. They are an energy management protocol for the viewer.
Right, because that active recovery fosters a shared sense of camaraderie. I mean, learning to code or mastering AI, it's inherently isolating and overwhelming.
Oh, it really is. It's so frustrating sometimes.
So when a creator posts a meme about a script failing for literally no logical reason, they shift their positioning. They go from being this top-down lecturer to a lateral peer.
Yeah, they're providing emotional pacing. And the data in our influencer directory totally proves that this lateral positioning scales beautifully.
Yeah, let's look at some of those examples.
So you have Niraj Walia, who goes by at Ease Explains. He's sitting at 1 million followers right now, just blending tech concepts with this exact peer-to-peer pacing.
Wow, 1 million.
Yeah. And then Chloe she has 1.1 million followers by wrapping career advice in this relatable tech lifestyle content.
It's super effective. Even hyper niche accounts, right? Like MapGPT.
Yeah, they've built an audience of over 118,000 purely by pacing ChatGPT prompt tutorials with that active recovery content we talked about.
But there is a ceiling to that solo playbook.
Right, you can't just run an enterprise on memes.
Exactly. A mid-sized B2B company or an agency cannot rely solely on parasocial relationships and debugging jokes to drive their pipeline.
They need an industrialized architecture.
Which brings us perfectly to the hash meta strategy of content atomization.
Okay, so wait. I see people conflate atomization with basic repurposing all the time.
Yeah.
But they aren't the same thing, are they?
Not at all. Repurposing is just taking a 60-minute webinar, uploading the exact same video file to YouTube, and maybe like ripping the audio for a podcast feed.
Right, so you're just formatting the same message for a different screen.
Exactly. But atomization is structural. It is the deconstruction of a massive, what they call pillar asset into 20 or more distinct platform-native pieces.
I always think about it like buying a whole roasted chicken.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Like repurposing is just taking the leftover chicken and eating it cold out of the fridge the next day.
Right.
It's the same meal, just delayed.
Right. Nobody's really excited about that.
Exactly. But atomization is stripping that chicken down.
Mm-hmm.
You use the breast meat for tacos on Tuesday. You boil the bones to make a rich collagen broth on Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
And then, you use the rendered fat to roast vegetables on Thursday. You are extracting distinct, standalone value to engineer entirely different experiences based on the context of the user.
That is a perfect analogy. And that extraction process is precisely where AI is currently fundamentally altering the agency workflow.
Yeah, let's talk about those numbers from Hashmeta because they are wild.
They report a 300 to 500% increase in overall content output.
Which is just massive.
It is. And simultaneously, they're reducing the cost per piece by 60 to 80%.
So you're getting up to 5 times the content for a fraction of the price.
Exactly. And the AI isn't just, chopping a video at random 5-minute intervals.
It's smarter than that.
Much smarter. It scans a definitive, say, 5,000-word guide on healthcare content marketing. It instantly identifies the most contrarian data points, and it generates the native framing for each digital dialect.
So like a deeply analytical, text-heavy LinkedIn carousel about compliance regulations, right? That serves a fundamentally different psychological need than a fast-paced, visually driven Instagram reel extracted from the exact same paragraph.
Precisely. And you don't just blast those atoms into the void hoping someone sees them. They are organized into silos.
Right, the silo structure. Every single atomized piece structurally links back to that central pillar asset.
And that internal linking structure is how you communicate with the algorithm. Search engines don't just count the number of posts you publish anymore.
Right, they map semantic relationships.
Yes. By creating a dense cluster of atomized content that all points back to a definitive hub, you are mathematically proving to Google's topical authority models that you possess comprehensive, interconnected expertise on a subject.
Which honestly sets up a massive collision course.
How so?
Well, think about it. If AI workflow acceleration allows every single enterprise marketing team to churn out 10 times more atomized, semantically linked content, the internet is rapidly approaching maximum saturation.
The noise is deafening.
Exactly. It's just a flood of content.
Yeah.
So how does a team decide what signal to actually broadcast?
We can look at the 2026 prioritization crisis for the answer to that. There was this fascinating discussion among content directors on Reddit about shifting from an output-driven model to a purely signal-driven model.
Right, because output isn't a differentiator anymore.
Exactly. Their new primary filter for asset creation is a single, ruthless question. They ask, would someone miss this if it didn't exist?
I love that. Would someone miss this? And if the answer is no, it just dies in ideation.
Right. They are abandoning the traditional vacuum of brainstorming, clever top-of-funnel blog posts.
Yeah, instead, they're treating content as a direct product feature. They sit down with sales and customer success teams to isolate the exact friction points actual buyers are experiencing, and they build highly specific assets to resolve them.
And they are being forced into this ruthlessness because of a fundamental shift in user behavior, which is documented in the MGID Publisher Survival Guide.
Yeah, the zero-click paradigm. Let's get into that because it's terrifying for publishers.
It really is. The proliferation of AI search interfaces like Google's AI overviews and engines like Perplexity are creating this zero-click reality.
Right. These large language models ingest your perfectly atomized, semantically linked silos, and they synthesize a direct answer for the user right on the search results page.
So the user gets what they need without ever visiting your site. The MGID data is just sobering. Even tracking back to early 2024, over 65% of mobile searches in the U.S. ended without a single click to an external website.
Over 65%. Just no click at all.
None. And you pair that with a 37% desktop ad block usage rate, and you have a scenario where publishers are functionally subsidizing their own replacement.
Right. They fund the content creation, the AI models scrape it for training data, and the publisher just bleeds traffic and engagement.
Exactly. So to combat the zero-click bleed, publishers have to optimize for the exact variables a large language model cannot hallucinate.
Which is where EAT comes in. experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Yes. The MGID strategy hinges on EET. The new baseline is the human-in-the-loop model, or HITL. AI lacks human nuance, it lacks opinion, and it lacks first-hand data.
But EET isn't just about sounding authoritative, right?
Yeah.
You have to actually prove it to a machine. I mean, an LLM doesn't inherently know you have first-hand experience just because you use the word I.
Precisely. Which brings us to the technical mechanism of survival, structured schema.org markup.
Okay, this is the technical part.
Right. This is how you translate your human lived experience into the native JSON LD format that crawler bots parse.
So if you just write, I tested this new B2B software, the algorithm might strip that context entirely during the scrape.
Exactly. It just sees text.
But if you deploy structured markup to declare a product review entity, and you explicitly tag the author object with a link to your verified historical credential.
You are mapping relationships the AI is forced to respect.
Right. You are demanding citation by hard-coding your authority into the actual architecture of the page.
And alongside defending their architecture, publishers are actively bypassing the crawl entirely.
Because if search is no longer a reliable distributor of top-of-funnel traffic, you have to build direct channels. The survival mandate is building unindexable channels. Private WhatsApp communities, gated Telegram channels, and heavily curated newsletters.
Because you completely eliminate the zero-click risk when you push the content directly into the user's pocket via a push notification. The AI can't scrape a private WhatsApp message.
Exactly. It's direct access.
Okay, so let's follow the money here.
Let's do it.
Let's say you've implemented all of this, right? You have the influencer-level audience pacing, you are atomizing pillar assets into semantic silos, you're tagging everything with advanced schema markup, and you're pushing direct to WhatsApp.
You're doing everything right.
Right. But at the end of the quarter, some executive is going to look at the balance sheet. How do we mathematically prove this ecosystem is actually driving profitable growth? We have to evaluate the unit economics, specifically the customer acquisition cost, or CAC. And a critical distinction here, which is frequently misunderstood, honestly, is the difference between CAC and CPA.
Oh, people conflate them constantly.
They really do. CPA is cost per action. It is a campaign-level metric.
Right, like if you spend $45 on a LinkedIn ad to get a white paper download, your CPA is $45.
Exactly. But CAC evaluates the viability of your entire business model. The numerator in your CAC calculation isn't just ad spend.
No, it's the fully loaded cost of acquisition.
Right. It includes the salaries of your content team, the sales commissions, the enterprise software subscriptions, the server costs, literally all of it.
Which leads us directly back to that scenario I opened with, right? Firing the team that just won you the quarter. It happens because executives rely on a flawed, static CAC calculation.
Yeah, let's run the math on that trap for everyone listening.
Okay, so a company spends exactly $250,000 on fully loaded sales and marketing in the month of March. And in that same month of March, they signed 300 new customers.
Wow.
The static calculation just divides March spend by March acquisitions, giving them a CAC of $833. It looks perfectly clean on a dashboard.
It looks clean and it is mathematically fictitious.
Completely fictitious.
That calculation assumes a 24-hour sales cycle. In reality, if you are selling B2B software, your sales cycle is likely 60 to 90 days.
Exactly.
The customer who signs a contract in March first engaged with an atomized piece of content back in January. Then they subscribed to the newsletter in February and finally took a demo in March.
Which means those 300 customers in March were actually acquired by the money you spent in January. This is the lag-adjusted CAC formula.
Right. If you ignore the time lag, you completely misattribute the revenue. And consider the behavioral consequences of that misattribution.
It's disastrous.
It really is. Let's say leadership heavily funded organic content in January, but then slashed that budget in March to hire a massive new outbound sales team.
I've seen this happen.
Right. The static March dashboard shows a huge spike in closed deals alongside the new sales spend. So leadership assumes outbound is incredibly cheap and scalable.
When in reality, the new sales reps are simply harvesting the pipeline generated by the content team 2 months prior.
Exactly. They cut the engine to buy more steering wheels.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it. And the cost disparity between those channels is massive, right? The benchmark data shows the average organic B2B SaaS customer someone nurtured through semantically linked content carries an acquisition cost of around $205.
Okay.
But if you try to acquire that same customer through brute force outbound cold calling, the average SAC spikes to $1,980.
Wow, and this is exactly where we bring in the leadership insights from Andy Starks, the founder of Mattermark.
Yes, his insights on this are so good.
He highlights that chasing fast growth without understanding these unit economics creates crippling operational debt.
And we talk about technical debt all the time, right? Like shipping buggy code just to hit a deadline, knowing you'll have to refactor it later. Operational debt is doing that with your actual business processes.
Precisely. If your unit economics are fundamentally broken and your lag-adjusted CAC is unsustainable when you have 5 sales reps, injecting $1 million in funding to hire 50 reps doesn't fix the problem.
No, it just scales the failure exponentially.
Sparks emphasizes that you simply cannot optimize a fundamentally broken system. The standard industry benchmark for a healthy SaaS business is a lifetime value to CAC ratio of 3-to-1.
Right.
But Sparks warns that 3-to-1 is merely the floor for survival. It is not the ceiling you strive for.
And a massive part of fixing that ratio comes down to the underlying plumbing of your data. There's this deeply illustrative case study in our stack involving a data verification tool called Prospeo.
Right, the bounce rate issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
A company was executing an outbound sequence, and they were experiencing a 35% email bounce rate due to decayed contact data.
And a 35% bounce rate doesn't just mean a third of your emails vanish into thin air. It means you are actively destroying your center reputation.
Exactly. Email service providers see that bounce rate, and they start routing your legitimate emails straight to the spam folder.
The failure cascades. You are paying marketing salaries to write copy that never even reaches an inbox, inflating your fully loaded CAC.
But when the company implemented strict data verification using Prospeo, the bounce rate dropped to 4%. They didn't change their product, they didn't rewrite their messaging.
They simply fixed the plumbing.
Exactly. And their acquisition costs plummeted because they stopped paying to market to ghosts.
It reinforces the reality that the modern digital engine is a hyper-connected, deeply sensitive system. Every single variable impacts the bottom line.
So to trace the architecture of what we've built today for you, it starts with the psychology of the solo creator, managing audience cognitive load through a highly paced mix of technical depth and parasocial active recovery.
Right. And then we scaled that concept to the enterprise, using AI to atomize pillar assets into semantic silos that mathematically prove topical authority to search algorithms.
From there, we examine the existential threat of zero-click search and how the only viable defense is hard-coding human expertise through structured schema markup.
And of course, shifting distribution to unindexable direct channels like WhatsApp.
Right. And finally, we grounded the entire ecosystem in reality, breaking down how ignoring time lags in your CAC calculations leads to catastrophic operational debt and the misallocation of vital resources.
It is a profound evolution from the simple input-output machine the internet used to be.
So what does this all mean for you?
Well, if we synthesize this entire ecosystem, it leads to a highly provocative thought regarding the future architecture of information itself.
Well, to hear it.
We know that AI models are relentlessly scraping our perfectly structured EEAT optimized semantic silos to generate zero-click answers, right?
Right. We're basically feeding them.
Exactly. If businesses are continuously bleeding top-of-funnel traffic to these models and thereby losing the ability to reliably control and protect their customer acquisition costs, we have to ask what happens to the open web.
Oh, wow.
Will the sheer mathematical pressure of CAC force the future of the internet to fracture?
Because you can't keep giving it away for free if it bankrupts you.
Precisely. Will we see all high-value, human-led knowledge retreat behind private, unindexable paywalls and walled garden communities, leaving the open internet as nothing more than an empty echo chamber training ground for algorithms?
That is a staggering concept to consider. That protecting the unit economics of a business might eventually require locking the entire internet behind a very thick, uncrawlable door. It fundamentally shifts how you should be thinking about the assets you build today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep examining the metrics behind the machine, and we'll catch you next time.